happy Let's Talk Month. Thanks for watching one of our Let's Talk Month questions and answers. So before we get started, I wanted to make sure you know about everything else going on this month. Let's Talk Month encourages open communication between young people and their parents or trusted adults. And we wanted to make sure you have plenty of chances to get involved. So I am Brittany Waring. I am from Fact Forward. I'm the Health Services Manager at Fact Forward. And we and other organizations in South Carolina have Let's Talk Month events going on all month long. So you can visit our website at factforward.org/events to find one that interests you. So today, to bring about our Let's Talk conversation today, we have Beth DeHart and her son, Jonah. So Beth DeHart is a South Carolina native and mom of one 19-year-old son, Jonah. Beth finished her BA from Presbyterian College and her MA from Columbia College. Her entire career has been in human services with focuses on adolescent health, civic education, family planning, and long-term care. Beth is also an accomplished grant writer and project manager, and in her free time, she enjoys painting, drumming, acting, and furniture restoration. And so her lovely son, Jonah, I don't have a bio for. So Jonah, if you would like to introduce yourself, please feel free.
Okay, so I'm Jonah. Hello, I'm the son of Beth, and so I go to Clemson University. Yes, I go to Clemson University. I am getting my Bachelor of Arts in political science with a psych minor. I enjoy playing lacrosse and coaching children in that sport, and just hanging out with people and being as social as I can be. So obviously during this pandemic, it's not the optimal time for my exploration of my activities, but I'm still managing and having a great time. So thank you.
Thank you, Jonah. So you viewers, you may have seen some previous Let's Talk conversations on parent-child connectedness, mentoring. So today, Beth and Jonah have been so gracious to have a conversation about how to have that open and honest conversation about love, sex, and relationships, particularly with older youth and even when Jonah was younger. And so today is just a time for us to have an open conversation. So let's talk. So we're just going to jump right into it. I'll start off with Jonah. So throughout the different stages when it came to love, sex, and relationships or awkward conversations, what made it very comfortable to talk to your mom about those things, and what things just were uncomfortable to talk to your mom about?
Okay, so different from most parents, my mom is exceptionally open and has always been. And she also, well, okay, I don't want to say different from most parents because that might be an overgeneralization, but my mom is exceptionally open. And so we started talking about sexual related things, more like anatomy and like what these parts are at probably 11. I was probably 11 or 12. So it started from a very early age.
Younger.
It might have been younger. Okay, it's very possible. But yeah, so I guess since she started so early, it's always just been kind of an ongoing conversation for us. It was implemented. It wasn't like, Jonah, we're going to sit down and have this talk today. It was more, Jonah, we're going to have this talk today, and from now on, it will always be a part of our conversation. And so I think that kind of flowing nature elicited a very easy and comfortable relationship between me and her in the early years, and it has continued to now. I mean, I would say that there's definitely some things that I don't want to talk to her about just because of privacy, but it's very easy to come to her with something that I may have a problem with or have an issue with and generalize it, and then she will answer me and give me guidance from her experience. And so there's never really been like a sex talk with me and mom. It's always just been a conversation that if I have a question today, bring it up. Why not? You know, it's because it's just normal for us.
Right. And so you brought up a good point. There hasn't been like the talk, because it should be just more than one talk, right?
Right.
It should be a conversation. So like, did you feel comfortable going to her to have those multiple conversations? And what made you feel comfortable?
I think I think as time went on, it definitely became easier. So I would say maybe in the beginning, I didn't talk to her about much at all because it was very like taboo because like, you know, my friends weren't talking about this at that time because I was so young. Uh, but I think that was a very good thing because no, I think that her talking to me from that early of an age was a very good thing because I understood things as they were happening because she gave me kind of a prerequisite to what was going to happen to me in the future and what was currently happening to me at that time. And so it just kind of made sense as those things happened. Did that answer the question, or do you want me to
Yeah,
get to?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, Beth, to bring you in on the conversation, why was it important to make sure that you were his source when it came to this kind of content?
Well, I love him the most.
Right.
And, it was important to me to establish the type of relationship between Jonah and me that would facilitate him coming to me with anything. And I totally know that we're talking about love, sex, and relationships right now, but my intention was to establish the kind of relationship that would allow him to come to me and his other parent with anything. Because
Can I add trust? Trust. I think I meant to mention when I was speaking is like since she gave me examples from her life, like it just established trust between us, and I think that's what built it into becoming something very comfortable to talk about because she
Right.
trusted me enough to tell me about her experience. So then I felt comfortable enough to trust her to tell her about mine. Sorry, Mom.
it's okay. Well, I wanted to, I wanted him to understand what our family values were and what my expectations were for him, but not necessarily around behavior, much more around safety. I wanted him to be able eventually to make his own good choices on his own. Obviously, I'm not there with him right now. He's at Clemson and I'm not, and he's probably never going to full-time live with me again. I needed to establish early the kind of relationship that would help me to teach him on the front end and then allow him to apply those facts and understandings to his own life and his own circumstances. I mean, I knew what I knew and I could prepare him for what I could prepare him for, but I couldn't prepare him for everything. I mean, he's come up against different kinds of scenarios that it never even crossed my mind to think about. But because we had this kind of relationship and I had sort of taught him about how to think, then he was able to think through some of those things on his own, which is ultimately, I would hope, would be the goal of any parent. Because if you just tell a child, do this, don't do that, never do this, always do that, well, then they're going to want to, number one, they don't understand why. And then they want to question everything. And then they're going to want to push back. Of course, they're going to want to put them. Well, if you don't tell me why, well, I'm going to try that out. Well, but if I understand why, then I can think on my own about the risks and the consequences and make my own decision with any set of circumstances. So, I mean, long answer to your tiny short question, Brittany, I wanted to teach him this so that he would learn how to think critically about his own behavior and make a good decision at any time. Understanding that he wouldn't always make a good decision. It probably hadn't. I don't know for sure, but at least he had the skills and the understanding to be able to.
So 2 points I took away from this is one, Jonah mentioned trust and you being open and sharing your experiences. And one thing that I found out as a former educator in high schools is when I would engage with young people, they will always say that I would ask a question: how many of you have a trusted adult that you can, talk to about sensitive information? And we know that sex is highly discussed, like when it's time to sell things or to put in shows, but no one wants to talk about it, right? And so for you to be able to be to share your experiences, and remember, I was once a young person, I was once a child, so it's not like I never was young. And so I feel like that's a part of the trust that Jonah was mentioning that allow him to be more comfortable talking to you. And I think parents today, we have to still remember, and I'm saying we like I have a child, but it takes a village. So I have some children somewhere, right? But parents today have to be mindful that we were young and we wanted our parents to understand our lives and the things that we were going to. So we have to take that same mindset and that same perspective and use it with our children to be that trusted adult. What were some of the lessons that you wanted to make sure he took with him when he left your home? Because you mentioned he's in college now. So as he was growing up, what were some of those things that you wanted him or you instilled in him, and so he has that framework or that foundation?
Okay. I wanted him to understand what a healthy relationship looks like. So we talked about that a fair bit, and I tried to demonstrate that. Well, I tried to make sure that he and I had a good, healthy relationship so that he would have some measure, some baseline to measure other relationships against. I mean, I know the relationship between a parent and a child is different than other kinds of relationships, but still a lot of this, a lot of the same elements are in place. And so if he knows what it feels like to trust me, so he can hopefully convey what it feels like to trust, a partner. So that would be point number one. I wanted him to understand what is a good, healthy relationship look like. And we talked about that. And I know that one thing that Fact Forward and the programs that you guys promote talks about is capitalizing on teachable moments. And so we would do that. We would, watch a movie, or we would listen to a song or whatever. And we'll say, you think that was healthy? And if not,
right.
Why not? So we would talk those kinds of things through. And then there were moments when, I wasn't certain that he was in a healthy relationship, and I would try to ask him, how does this feel when this happens, or when this happened? How do you feel about that? And do you think that's a sign of a healthy relationship? I mean, there were probably times when I said, I don't think this is healthy, but ultimately it was up to him to decide. So anyway, so point number one, try to paint a good picture of what a healthy relationship is. And again, to convey that not just in his intimate relationships, but just friendships and relationships with bosses and all of that. Certainly, I wanted him to understand what would keep him safe in regard to sex. He knows the role of birth control that a female partner would have, and he also understands the role of a condom. I proposed a rule. Now, I've said a lot about us making sort of mutual decisions, but there was one time when I proposed a rule because I felt like it would be a reasonable rule, and it was, again, around safety rather than morality, and I thought that it would go a long way to protecting him. And the rule was, son, I don't want you to know what it feels like to have sex without a condom until you're married.
That's good. That's good.
Well,
I like how you said a reasonable request. And so, Jonah, did you agree that it was reasonable?
Well, so yeah, and I wanted to, what I was going to say is I wanted to add that condom, like, I think a very common misconception is that condoms and birth control are interchangeable. They are not. They are very different, and they serve very different purposes. They do share. They share one purpose, which is to prevent pregnancy, but the role of a condom is not only to do that, but also to prevent you from STIs and STDs.
Right.
And so I think mom painted that picture before she ever even mentioned this request or rule or, whatever it is. And so when she proposed it, it didn't even I was like, yeah, obviously, because I don't want to share other people's problems, diseases, whatever, issues, infections with me. And if I, God forbid, have one somehow, I don't want to share that with somebody else. And also, I think if you're going to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want to trust them fully. And a point that Mom and I talked about literally yesterday was, when you sleep with someone, you sleep with everyone that they have also slept with. And because, stuff sticks around. So you really want to trust the person that you are going to share your life with, I feel. So I think that was kind of not only a protective measure, but it was also a symbolistic thing to me that, if I'm going to give myself to this person in this way, then they really need to mean a lot to me.
I think this is so good that a young male is sharing this type of advice, because, so often I do educational sessions with young people, and it was like, oh my gosh, Miss B again. But to hear, a young person, a young attractive man that's in college that's sharing this information, I think it it says a lot about your parenting style, Beth. And kudos to you, because it's, you know, we think that when we share information with our children when they're under our roofs, we would hope that when they leave, that they will still have that information. And this is a testament that when you instill it in them when they're young, they'll take it, you know, with them for the rest of their lives.
So,
And so
to
I
juxtapose, Jonah, would you share just a little bit of some of the experiences that you've had since you've been in college with some of your friends and the difference that you've seen with some of them?
Okay, I wasn't prepared for this, but I will.
No names. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, so I definitely have some friends who have found out that they have had infections, and obviously I'm not going to give names, but and they don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. They don't know who to go to. They're scared that they're scared to go to the doctor because they're scared that their parents are going to find it on their insurance. Like, you know, and what they don't realize is that there's ways to go around that. And if they are uncomfortable talking to that, now obviously if I had one, I would, at this point in time, I would go to my mom and be like, hey, I think I messed up. You know, I'm in a happy relationship, so I don't think that's going to happen. But if it were to happen,
be in a happy relationship.
yes. But if it were to happen on the off chance, you know, I would feel comfortable enough to go to her. But they, like, my friends come to me, to be honest, because I don't only talk about this right now. I talk about this kind of stuff with my friends all the time. I critically think about everything, you know, and so I think they come to me, and this is just like common knowledge to me. I'm just like, oh, well, if you just go, you can say, you know, I don't want this information to be shared with my parents. I'm, you know, at an adequate age where they don't have to know. And also, like, don't be scared. Don't be scared to go to the doctor. You know, I've had friends who've been scared to go, and I'll go with them and just be like, you know, it's part of life. Like, it's not. This is a part of becoming an adult. You need to go get checked for a multitude of reasons. Not only because you're scared that you have an STI, but also because if you do have one, it can affect you mentally. It can affect you emotionally. It can affect you in all kinds of ways. And so it's better to be proactive or very quickly reactive than to just ignore it, because ignoring it is going to do nothing but harm, you know.
Jonah even had, I thought this was incredibly sad. Last year when he was a freshman, he had a female friend.
Oh yeah.
Who didn't even understand her own biology.
Yeah.
And he go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't realize you were trying to allude to this. Yes, I had a friend who had literally never talked to her parents about anything. I mean, not even like menstrual cycles. And so she knew what to do from like looking it up, but she didn't know why it was happening. Like, she knew that she needed a you know, like I don't a tampon or a pad. Yeah, sorry.
Right.
But she didn't know why or like anything about it. And so me and another friend, one of her girlfriends, because I wanted to maintain like trust in that, like, I'm not coming at this in any way but to educate. So I had her bring one of her friends that's a girl, and I just sat down and I had basically the talk with her, you know, because she's 19 years old and she had never talked about anything. So
it kind of broke my heart.
Yeah, it was really
And
sad. So where does she go? You know, she comes to me. So
right. And so, Jonah, you bring up a good point. So the relationship that you had with your mom allowed you to be that trusted adult to someone else. And so it's good to address that. A trusted adult doesn't have to be a 55-year-old person or 70, you know, it can be someone like you who's, you know, educated about it because you got it from your mom, your parent. And it is sad, but it's a lot of college students, unfortunately,
right.
Even some adults that don't understand anatomical parts and, you know, how things works and physiology of the body. So I think it's important that we normalize the conversations, not just about love, sex, and relationships, but about talking about your bodies, about talking about healthy relationships. And so
sex and genitalia is not scary, you know, it is a part of our life and it needs to be talked about.
That is so cute that you brought that up, because I'm actually doing a training on sex doesn't have to be scary. It's a reproductive health training for you professionals. So thank you, Jonah, for bringing that up.
So I didn't know that was a thing, but
sports website. But I don't want to have such a long conversation, but I do have, maybe two more things that I like to ask. So I'll start with Jonah. What's if you had to give like 3 tips to our young viewers that are watching, as it pertains to not even talking to your parent, but like how to get information that that's sensitive information that you don't trust getting from the internet. What would be 3 tips? And if it does involve your parents, how would you suggest to them to approach that?
Okay. I think that being in college, there are a multitude of resources here where you can talk to people about, you can get information on sexually transmitted diseases, like all kinds of stuff about reproductive health in general. You can take classes on it, but if you don't want to spend money, they just have like groups or clubs. That's what I was looking for. That literally specify like they are going to talk about this kind of stuff. And so if you need education on it, then join that. Another great resource is if you're, say, in high school, the high school level or the middle school level, your gym coaches are required to be educated on this stuff. And while that may be a little bit uncomfortable, if you have nowhere else to go, they can't. We're in the state of South Carolina, so they can't just tell you anything, but they can give you a foundation of things that you need to know to be true before you go and do your own research. So I think maybe the overlying theme here is if you need information as a young adult, make sure that you have at least a solid foundation, and then you can do your own research and critically think from there to find out stuff to be true or not. I would also like to add for parents, a really demeaning thing to say, and my mom has maybe said this to me once, and it's something that I see that my friends' parents say to them all the time, and it drives me nuts, and it also drives them nuts, and it makes them think that their parents are not credible. So I would just avoid this phrase at all costs. But like when a parent says, I've been your age, I've been in your shoes, it just dismisses whatever the child is trying to say. So we realize that you have been our age, but times are a lot different. You as an adult, your parents did not experience the same things that you did when you were a child. So I would encourage parents to just listen and hear what their child has to say, and then provide advice from their experience, but not say, I've been there, I've been in your shoes, I know what you're going through, because everybody goes through things differently. Everybody processes and handles things differently. So I think it's important to be open to hear your child rather than just, be the authoritative parent. I think my mom and I have had this discussion in the last couple months. My mom is my friend. My mom is not just my mother. She was at one point, but because of I love you too, Mom.
So sweet.
Well, it's true though, but because of the relationship or the foundation that we built our house on. Our house was founded in love. And if you can figure out how to found or, lay a platform of just straight love, there's going to be love regardless, then I think it will definitely make it a lot easier for children to go to their parents.
I just want to say that this was not scripted. This is not a script. This is live color. So the emotions that you're feeling while you're watching it is absolutely real. Okay.
Well, I have a friend, a very one of my best friends, and his parents are his parents. And I'm sure a lot of people listening will understand what that means. If you are in a household like mine, great. And I hope you don't know what this means, but he sees his mom and dad as his mom and dad. And all that they have ever done for him is told him what you're doing is wrong, not why you're doing it wrong or how you're doing it wrong and how it should maybe go, how maybe you should react differently the next time. It's just, you're wrong, you need to be punished. And that doesn't lay a foundation of love and happiness, and it doesn't allow your child to be comfortable with you. So I would recommend everything I just said to be applicable to parents.
That was parents. I hope you got some pen and paper, and if not, you can rewind and go and get your pen or pause and then come back, because those were some really good tips, honestly. So Beth, the same question. I mean, I don't know how you're gonna top that.
I guess one other point that I hope to make today that I haven't said is, and I think maybe Jonah has sort of alluded to it, is as a parent, pay attention to how you react when your child does bring something to you, because the thing that will shut them down the fastest is to overreact and immediately go to punishment if something went wrong. I mean, adolescence is for trying things out and making mistakes and learning from them. And so if parents are constantly punishing, if that's your go-to every time, all your child is going to learn is to be sneaky. So if you want them to come to you, think, I tried to do this. I tried to think through, okay, what if Jonah were to come to me and tell me X? What would I do? And he used to ask me this all the time. He'd say, Mom, what would you do if? And then I'd be like, I don't know. I have to think it through.
I remember specifically when I asked you if you would still love me if I killed somebody, because when I was like 4, killing somebody was the worst thing in the world. And so I was like, Mom, would you still love me if I killed somebody? And she was like, of course. I mean, I wouldn't be happy with you, but I would still love you. And so, yeah, I mean, that her response to me allowed me to, I wasn't like, I mean, obviously she shouldn't kill somebody, but like, I wasn't like scared that I would lose her love in any type of way.
I think it was more of a test of what is the boundary that will cause you not to love me anymore. Mm-hmm. And hopefully we've established that boundary doesn't exist. Right. So anyway, I would say that would be my biggest and a final takeaway from other parents is to just, put your game face on, put your poker face on, and just, be prepared to hear the thing, whatever it is. And then, when Jonah was growing up, whenever something would go wrong and he would tell me about it, I would ask him 2 questions. I'd say, okay, how did this happen? So we think through, sort of rewind what led to where you landed, and then how you're going to make a different choice next time. Every time we would ask those 2 questions and talk them through. So hopefully he's sort of doing that on his own now. But Brittany, I believe your actual question to me was, what resources or where would you point people to? And I know this isn't really a commercial, but folks can go to Fact Forward. I mean, it's an amazing organization. You guys have wonderful staff and great resources. Pediatricians are great resources. Jonah himself has gone to his own pediatrician outside of me because he has a good relationship with him to ask questions. And, that he, for whatever reason, he didn't feel like asking me. That was another really good resource as well. So those would be 2 that we haven't mentioned yet.
Great. So as we conclude our talk today, you all have already provided some amazing tips on around parenting and being parented and how to normalize the conversations about various sensitive topics. But as Beth just alluded to, if you would like more information on, how to, be a trusted adult, we do have an askable adult training that we provide that you can get information from our website, or we'll provide in the chat below, as well as a numerous of tips that we have on our websites. We have like tip sheets on, how to have the conversation with your child. But be mindful that it's not just one talk, it's not just 2 talks. If you heard Jonah and Beth's conversation here today, the conversation has been happening since Jonah was a young boy. And I can attest to that because Beth and I were former colleagues, and we will often have to travel around the state together. And I would be in on some of those conversations when she would talk to Jonah, when she, and so it was so uplifting to see, parenting in a different light. It was so easy. Like, I don't have kids, but seeing Beth parent Jonah made me, I can do this. Like, this is easy. And I'm sure it may not have been easy, but Beth wanted that kind of relationship with her son. And so hearing him today, as I said, this was unscripted. It wasn't like, Jonah, you say this, Beth, you say this. This is like, what they really believe. And so I want to thank you both today for having one of many talks as we have Let's Talk Month at Fact Forward. And if you have any other last bit of information before I close, is there a way that if someone wants to ask you a question personally, can they reach you on Facebook, or would you just rather them respond to the chat below, or how would you like, people to respond if they have questions?
The chat below works. I also would be willing to put my email up if somebody wants to email me. I'm totally fine with that.
Okay.
Just know that I'm not the fastest responder, but I will get to it. So, Ms. Brittany, I can provide you with that, or if you want me to just say it, I can do that too.
Okay. So I will do that. And I will put it in the chat below if anyone has any questions. So thank you so much, Beth and Jonah, for logging on today and being so open with us. And you can connect with them via the chat box below. And if we have any like personal questions, we can provide email addresses. So in the spirit of openness, we hope that this Q&A gave you, our viewers, ideas on how to address the topic within your own life. And don't forget to check out other events that we have going on this month. We'll drop the links in the comments below, or you can visit our website at factforward.org/events. Feel free to like our page, share this video with your friends, share this video with other parents that you think that this will be beneficial from. And you all have a great day.